Hello, and welcome to my Win Every Card challenge. My name is Counterfeit, joined by my magical mentor, Piers, for today's high-stakes event. Piers,
Hello, everybody out there.
do you think, with all the training you have given to me over these many, many years, that I can reach that grand height of 12-0?
I think at least 12-0. That's what we're going for today.
Oh, do you think maybe there's a secret bonus round?
I think so, yeah.
You just go backwards.
For the best of the best, which is definitely going to be us.
So let's have a quick look into it. We've spent a lot of time going backwards and forwards over what kind of decks to be running today, and like all good plans, this one changed at the very last second. Piers, what have we been doing?
So we have been having a look at sort of everything in the format, really, and just trying to figure out what we think is going to be a good choice for this. So one of the problems that we came across is that most of the lists floating around are aimed at sort of best of 3 tournament play, whereas certainly a lot of the reports we've been seeing today have said that the best of 1 has been a little bit more on the aggro end of the spectrum today. So we've seen a lot more red deck wins, maybe some knights lists, that sort of thing, a lot more of the adventures list. So one of the decks that we thought was quite promising in terms of sort of having a good match across the board was food. But we have a little bit of a different take on that because we are trying to basically be able to beat red deck wins. The ramp food deck kind of just too little too late against them, whereas the list we're running, we've got 4 Woodland Champion and 3 Giant Opportunity, which gives us the opportunity to make creatures with really big toughness that red just can't remove really, really fast and just shut them down. And of course, we've got loads of food to then catch up on life in the late game. So we're hoping that might help tip the balance in our favour a little against the field. The other list that's been sort of a last-minute success in the MPL last night, and a lot of people have had success with, that I think you're going to be starting out with, is the Golgari Adventures list. And this seems to be quite well positioned. You've got, is it 12 1-drops? I believe it's 12 1-drops.
Yes, we have to kind of go through, well, the Lovestruck Beast has the ability, oh, Hero Gaming Simon, welcome. If anything does confuse you, Hero Gaming Simon, I don't think you're a Magic player, so if anything needs extra explanation, don't worry, just ask, and that's part of doing this on as part of the stream. But so yes, we're using these adventure
cards. Keep an eye on things so I can over-explain things for any questions that you have.
So yes, so Hero Gaming Simon and anyone else who's not familiar with the set, we've got these adventure mechanics in play where these cards are effectively 2 cards in one. So Peter's mentioned the 12 1-drops. You've got these ones that cost 1, the Edgewall Innkeeper, who's super central to the strategy, who costs 1, and Lovestruck Beast, who poops out a human creature token for just 1 mana. But yes, so we've got a whole big pile of these 1-drops. So you mentioned before, we're looking at playing against a lot of enemy decks which are going to try and barf all over our faces real quick. So we've got a lot of stuff we can bring out onto the board to get ourselves started.
Yeah, absolutely. So having all the 1-drops come down means that you are immediately on the board and able to block. You then have some very cheap interaction. You have 5 2-mana removal spells to just blow up anything that you can't block. And then, as you say, once you get to like turn 3, turn 4, you're dropping a 5/5 Lovestruck Beast on turn 3, which is very, very hard for the aggressive decks to beat. And then you're dropping, big questing beasts, massacre cards, that sort of thing on later turns, and they just can't beat you through that.
So I suppose if we go through sort of the key interactions in this deck, would make a lot of sense. The most obvious of which is going to be the Edgewall Innkeeper. This is the guy that interacts with our adventure cards, which are the ones with adventure on them, to draw us cards. So I guess crucially, it's not that when we use the adventure part of our card, the create a token or whatever these other ones are, but it's when we play the creature part of that card, which tends to be the more expensive part, at least in Lovestruck Beast's case.
That's right. The other thing worth pointing out is that the creature does not need to have gone on an adventure first. So you can just cast Lovestruck Beast for 3 and then still draw the card. You don't have to cast Heart's Desire and then cast Lovestruck Beast.
Yeah, this is something which took me a while to pick up on, is that the Heart's Desire, that's the name of the adventure part, but it's because it's down at the bottom. I'm not used to looking for the name there. So I oftentimes, when people say that, I'm like, huh?
Yeah, that's quite understandable. I don't think I've picked up all of the names of the adventures yet. I was desperately scrambling for the name of the adventure on Murderous Rider earlier, actually.
Yes, it's not murder, which would seem to save a lot of headspace if it was.
Yeah. Definitely so. Very powerful card, though. Just Swift End on its own is just a great removal spell, even if it didn't have Murderous Rider glued to it. But obviously, if you're looking at beating aggro decks, 2/3 lifelink, maybe it'll get blown up by sort of burn spells, but if it gets to stick around, that's just going to absolutely take over. It's going to block really, really well, gain you some life, trade off with something, and put you straight into the late game.
So I suppose some of the stuff which is a little bit unusual about this deck, before we get into sort of more into the weeds, is that we've got loads of stuff we can do on turn 1, but for stuff we do on turn 2, only 2 of these things, these Order of the Midnight Flappy Bird, a Human Knight apparently riding a bird, let's not get too much into that, I suppose. We've only got 2 2-drops, and everything else is going to be it's removal in the Assassin's Trophy or Legion's End, which are both valuable pieces of removal, and the Once Upon a Time that we kind of weren't hoping to cast for its full cost because of its ability to be cast for free if we get it in, say, our opening hand or near enough our opening hand.
Yeah, I mean, to be very, very anal about it, I suppose you could also say technically Find is a 2-drop, but you're just never casting it on turn 2 because you need 2 things to be dead in the graveyard before it's worth casting. So you basically do only have the Order of Midnight to curve out for 2 mana, but because there's so many 1-drops, you may actually just be casting 2 1-drops on turn 2. Sometimes just casting a 1-mana creature on turn 2 is fine if that 1-mana creature is impactful enough, like, for example, an Edgeable Innkeeper. And, of course, we also have 4 Temple of Malady. I think it's 2 Fabled Passage. The numbers covered up there by the start button, but I think it's 2. Those are both going to come into play tapped 100% of the time on turn 2. So, again, if you have a 1-drop and one of these lands, that's your turn 2 mana, perfectly well used. And sometimes you just play the Overgrown Tomb tapped on turn 2 as the other half of playing it with a 1-drop, just to get it into play for free. So I think you'll find that it's going to be relatively uncommon that you leave turn 2 with any untapped land. You might not actually put that mana into a creature or something, but you are going to get value on turn 2.
Alright, so let's take a quick look across some of our more weird cards. So we've got, 3 or 4 things here which are somewhat common, but in varying amounts. Questing Beast, I think, is probably the most common amongst the tryhards, of which, of course, we are, because we have to try pretty freaking hard to get to 12 wins. Someone did the maths on this, and I think it's like 0.5% chance of getting to 12 wins in this event. I don't know.
I think that's if you have a 50% win rate, if I remember having looked at the chart. I think it actually becomes okay once you're at like 60%. And you have a moderately good chance of doing it if you have an average of 80%. The best players in the game get up to about 60% at high-level competition as their game win percentage. So that's not very comforting, but it isn't so bad. If you can play better than average, your odds are a little bit higher than people were initially saying as the headline.
Well, we were looking at the list of decks, and yeah, their win percentages were about 60% as well, so that does fit. But let's look at Question Beast. So this is a card that's extremely popular. It's got so much writing on it, it's like, I'm surprised it didn't invest in a smaller font. It's got Vigilance, Death Touch, Haste, all great things to have, especially on a 4-cost 4/4. But it's got extra effects as well. The little creatures 2 or less power can't block it at all. Makes all of our creature combat damage unpreventable, which I don't think is going to come up very much. Is there any reason why that might come up?
Not really. That's primarily something to shut down a deck that nobody's playing right now.
Okay. And the last effect is that if we punch someone in the face, we also get to eat their Planeswalker as well, which is just gravy, really. Like, I don't think it needs that many effects, but it has all of them.
Well, I would say that last part is a big part of the value of it, because the sort of the big boogeyman cards in the format are Teferi and Oko, which are both 3-mana Planeswalkers. So having a 4-mana creature with haste that can redirect damage to Planeswalkers, essentially having a 4-mana card that kills a 3-mana Walker and then gives you additional value, is quite good in this format. I think it's one of the good reasons to be playing it. The other thing that's worth pointing out is the interaction between the abilities. You mentioned that the can't be blocked by creatures power 2 or less is nice just in and of itself, but the way that interacts with Death Touch is really interesting. Normally, if you have a big Death Touch creature, your opponent just throws their little tiny redundant creatures in front of it as a stop sign. Here, if they want to stop it getting in and, say, killing their Oko, they actually have to trade off a relevant large creature, because that Death Touch means that nothing's going to survive blocking it.
Okay, so we'll be looking out for Questing Beasts. Let's get on to Rankle, Master of Pranks. Now, this is a particularly weird card. So we've got Flying and Haste together, so Questing Beasts only got to have Haste and a bunch of other stuff, but Flying and Haste seems like it's a really great combination to almost guarantee that damage getting in. And then we get to choose any number of these effects below. Piers, why would we want to use each of... Well, in brief, because I imagine we can spend a lot of time talking about this, but in brief, when and where are these effects going to be particularly useful?
Well, I mean, the perhaps too obvious statement to make is that these are symmetrical effects. They affect both you and your opponent. So you're just looking for opportunities to break that symmetry. So one that you mentioned previously, I think, is Heart's Desire. The Adventure on Lovestruck Beast makes a little random 1/1 creature that very easily becomes irrelevant in the late game. If your opponent just has one big scary monster, choosing to make both of you sacrifice is a very, very low cost for you if you're just discarding a 1/1 token that you've got as a secondary thing on an otherwise good card, and they're sacrificing a huge scary monster. Other examples are each player discards a card if you have no cards in hand and they have more than one card in hand, or one or more cards in hand. That becomes asymmetrical. It's just them discarding and you not. So I think actually just using this as a 3/3 Flying Haste is fine. One of the other advantages that I didn't point out with the Questing Beast abilities is that haste means that if your opponent's going to tap out and kill all of your things, you've still got damage in before that happens. A 3/3 flyer for 4 with haste is almost guaranteed to get in and deal that 3 damage no matter what happens afterwards. So I think you're in this deck at least, the primary use case for this is just hitting them in the air. And then anytime you see an opportunity to get additional value out of it, that's just gravy on top of that.
Alright, so the second to last weird thing in here is Massacre Girl. So I've run into this before just randomly and gotten absolutely destroyed by it. Because its effect doesn't look that good initially when you kind of glance over, like, everything else gets -1/-1. But with the right setup, this is a board wipe by itself.
Yeah, and this is not a symmetrical effect because you're left with a creature standing at the end. The -1/-1 doesn't affect the Massacre Girl. So, basically any time that you can cast this is going to be good. Even if you have creatures in play, the fact that you end up with something and they end up with nothing means it's normally worth doing. What can be a bit tricky with this card sometimes is finding the first creature to die to get that chain going. But you do have a lot of 1 toughness creatures in this deck, so it's pretty easy to set this up. One of the main reasons I think this is in here, rather than just beating other creature decks, is the deck everyone's saying is the deck to beat, is one that can just puke out a huge board full of small zombies. Massacre Girl can sort of immediately clean all of that up and then threaten to kill your opponent.
Okay, so the last one we got in here, you mentioned it before, was the Find. So this double-sided card, or 2-in-1 card, lets us get back creature cards from a graveyard to a hand. So we've got our very powerful creatures there we want to get back. Sadly, Murderous Rider, that's not possible with, has a special exception. Hey, Water on Earth. Hey, how are you doing? But yes, the other part of this Find Finality card is probably the one that's going to be more important. This is it's a kind of an interesting effect with the sort of, well, I guess it is a kind of a board wipe, but also the ability to pump up presumably our Rankle or Questing Beast to the point it won't get killed by Finality, and also in later turns will be a bigger creature.
You also have the Murderous Rider, and Lovestruck Beast can also survive Finality if they're being targeted to it. So you have, is it 16? I think it's 16 creatures that can survive Finality. So again, quite easy to make this asymmetrical where you end up with something, they end up with nothing. Great at clearing out against other creature-based decks, really great at clearing out against the deck that's just spamming out loads of zombies. And then the issue with that is when you come up against a deck where your opponent isn't playing creatures, that could be a blank card. But Find means that that's never the case. There's always some value you can get from this. One slight thing I missed as well with the Rankle is if you have a Find or an Order of Midnight to get your creature back, you might actually want to sacrifice one of your creatures so you can recast them as an adventure.
No,
If that
that's a really
makes
good point.
some sort of sense. The adventures, other than Murderous Rider, aren't very high value to recast. Mainly it's going to be Foulmire Knight redrawing you a card. But there are going to be occasions where that's worth doing, especially if you have an Innkeeper in play where you can like buy back your Foulmire Knight, draw a card from it, cast it, draw another card.
Yes, so the reason we're going into so much detail around this is because I haven't actually played this deck before, so we're trying to get as much of this stuff ahead of time to sort of think out how are we going to do these things. I think Assassin's Trophy we haven't actually talked about yet, but it's a very, very powerful card to be able to eliminate anything at the cost of giving our opponent a basic land in exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is the one deck we talked about, the zombie deck, which gets zombies off of playing lands, so that's not great against that one, but I think against everything else.
Although it did occur to me it can work the other way, in that they only have typically 5 basic land. Okay. So once they've gone off and found all of their basic land, which is not uncommon, you can cast this with no downside. You can also blow up their land really critically. So first, again, if they've got all of their basic land out of their deck already, you can blow up their land and it has no downside. Keep in mind the thing that's making all of those zombies for them is a land. So you can actually blow up their Field of the Dead, which is the land that gives them the zombies, and make them replace it with a useless, dumb, basic land that doesn't help them at all. So Trophy does have some utility against them. You do have to be a little bit careful. Sometimes you cast it against them and they get 4 zombies.
Yes.
That's not the point where you want to fire off against them.
Just see if I can get Field of Dead up, just so I can have it on the screen. So yeah, this is one deck's based around this. So once they play out all these different kinds of lands with different names, and then once 7 different names are on the field of play, including Field of Dead, then they just start getting effectively infinite zombies, which is pretty unpleasant, but it does take a little while to get going.
It is a little bit slow. Hopefully we can apply enough pressure to them that it doesn't matter. Our early creatures don't necessarily have a lot of power in terms of actual damage that they can deal, but just the sheer weight of throwing 3 or 4 creatures down before they've even done anything to impact the board might just be enough to overwhelm them before they can do that sort of powerful late game that takes over.
Oh, I didn't realise. So we're looking at the rewards we can get from this thing, again, which are pretty freaky unlikely, but it's all about the journey. So we're going to get this card back, which makes me hungry for chocolate.
Sure.
But it looks like I didn't actually realise that this game is one-time set of all of the sets. I thought it was just for Throne of Ladrin.
Everything in standard currently, that's right. And what's actually more significant than they're not advertising around this, and I'm not sure why, is that we're about to get access to the Brawl format. I don't know exactly how common it's going to be, but it's going to be around quite a lot, which is another constructed format, which is only cards from standard and a maximum of 1 copy of each card. So this is a format people are very excited about that's coming very, very soon. And the reward for this event is a complete playset of every single card you could ever need to build any deck in that format. That's actually even more exciting than it looks on the surface from my perspective. I'm certainly I would love to win that, and when Brawl comes along, just be able to brew absolutely anything that I possibly want to build.
So, as we look towards the actual what we're going to need to do to get this stuff, this is a pretty punishing event in which we've got to go through 12 different games, and we've only got, if we lose twice, we are done. So it means if we get a bad draw, or our opponent goes first, then, at least that's what Reddit reckons, then there's a good chance we just get hammered and die.
Mm-hmm.
So let's give it a try.
It's entirely plausible that we go 0-2 here, but
I think a lot of
we
people,
might go for
good
12 wins. I think so. But even 0-2, you get okay rewards. You get the Golden Egg sleeve you were just talking about, and you get 1 Throne of Eldraine rare ICR, so a random rare from the new set.
Yeah.
And you get pretty good rewards between there and 12 wins as well. It's not all about the 12 wins, even though they've not really spelled out what the rest of them are. You just get increasing numbers of rares all the way up till 9 wins. At 9 wins, you get a free entry for playing Sealed.
Yeah, so
which is
that's
a minimum of 9 boosters.
Alright, so we're getting in. Let's see. Oh, we've got a decent start. So this looks like a keep-ish-able hand. We've got a love struck. We could love struck beast out on the first turn, and then we don't have a lot. This could. We don't have any. Well, we got one of our 1-drops, and then we could certainly play. It's not a great opening hand. What do you reckon, Piers?
You may just have nothing to do on turn 2, but we were sort of saying there isn't a lot for this deck to do on turn 2. Murderous Rider is the best answer in the list, so you can deal with being a little bit slower by stopping what your opponent's doing. Love Struck Beast is very, very strong on turn 3. So I think this is just barely a keep. It's pretty on the edge. It might be correct to throw it back, given that we have the London Mulligan now, and we can be reasonably confident that your next hand is going to be keepable, if not necessarily more exciting. I do think Fine Finality is bad in the opener, so you can almost consider this just to be a 6-card hand. Like, when you look at it from that perspective, I think the average 6-card hand might be better.
Alright,
I think I'd chuck this back, because you so badly want the Innkeeper on the first couple of turns. I think it's correct to do so, and you've totally got paid off here. Don't know whether you chuck back the Order of Midnight or the Rankle. What's your thought?
I think we can probably do without Rancor. We're going to end up drawing cards with the Order of Midnights anyway.
I think that's reasonable, given that you have the Edgewall Innkeeper, and even if they kill the Innkeeper, the Order gets it back.
Yeah, I really... That's a much, much better opening hand.
Mm-hmm.
By miles. Okay.
So they're going to be coming at you really fast and really aggressively, and gaining life, so you can't easily race them. So you do need to shut them down. Finality will help with that in the end game. If you can sort of stall things out, that should put the game away for you.
I do love that the Order of Midnight is big enough to stop the silly bird.
Yeah, can't block though, can it?
Oh, that's true, can't. Okay, never mind.
And the bird is getting a 2-point life swing, so it doesn't exactly race it, but it does sort of, balance it out. Another Innkeeper there is pretty amazing.
Yes, so we're going to be able to turn our Order of Midnight into 2 more cards.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully our opponent won't read our card and therefore won't attack.
Yeah, that's always a possibility at this stage in the format. One of the things we were talking about before the stream is that there's a certain amount of equity in playing a older deck that you know how it ticks and you know what all the cards do, and playing sort of everything correctly, versus playing a deck like this where sometimes you'll mess yourself up, where you go, oh, I thought I could block with that.
Okay, so our previous play was to put down an Edgewall Innkeeper and an Order of Midnight. I don't see anything that's too much changed at this point. We've got a lifelink 1/1, which is a bit weird. But yeah, I think we're in a good position to just draw a bunch of cards. I think
that's safe, yeah.
So let's chuck out our forest. We don't have to pay 2 life, we don't have to. So Edgewall Innkeeper.
Temple of Melody is not a shock land, it's a scry land.
Ah, okay, well
so
I just missed that.
So, I was going to say, you want to make sure you play it before playing an adventure creature next turn. Because you want to scry before you draw. You really want to hit and hold on to removal. I think that there's a very strong chance they're going to be playing stuff like a Johnny's Pridemate, which is going to be creatures that get a counter on it every time they gain life. So that they can put something down and it rapidly becomes like a 7/7, and you just can't deal with it in combat. So I think having the ability to go bang, blow up your huge creature is going to be quite important in this game.
Oh, there we go. So that's a bigger creature.
Yeah, it's not a big creature though. A 3/2 flyer for 4, even with the scry one, is just so below the power level that you'd expect in this format. I'm a bit confused by this deck, if I'm honest with you. I don't see any reason you would run Senate Griffin, and to a lesser degree Charmed Stray, unless it was the cards that you own. It almost seems like someone's come into this event not realizing that they could build with a full collection.
Okay, well, getting past that for a second, we've got the possibility of playing Questing Beast here. That seems like it's... We don't have a way to adventure, so we don't need to necessarily go for the scry thing straight away. It does put us, it does mean we'd be able to get in for quite a lot of damage this turn.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really see any reason not to do that, can you?
No, I think the only thing you can be doing right now is racing.
Alright, here we go. We're off to the races.
Yeah, there are better things to do for 4 mana in a life gain deck. There are better things to do for 4 mana in a Flyers deck. So I think Son of Griffin is, it's a card that I've played very excitedly in the Pauper format when it's come up on Arena. It's not quite on the level of Standard. Giant's Primate is exactly the card I was just talking about a minute ago, so that might very quickly become, a 5/5, a 6/6 or bigger. It's certainly going to be a 3/3 at least. Keep in mind they may have instant speed life gain as well.
Okay, so we don't really have, so we can't get to our finality at this point, which would be kind of nice to wipe their board out and win us the game effectively.
Yeah, finality targeting Beast is just game.
We could just nail out the... Okay, well, so this gives us a chance to potentially play the Scryland, because we can't use our mana anyway.
Yep.
So let's get that over with to start with.
And then you know what you're drawing, so you can better plan from there.
Yeah. So, another questing beast. I mean, why not really?
I think it seems reasonable. I don't know what you actually end up casting in this game. I think you'll win before you cast it. But if you don't, you'll be happy to have it.
Okay, so if I swing in with the questing beast, there's a chance it trades off with the Primate and the Charm Stray. I think the Charm Stray will probably just get in the way of it, which I'm okay with.
Keep in mind they may have instant speed life gain, so I would kill the Primate right now, in case they do have a trick.
Wouldn't I use this as a trick when I attack?
Nope. In case they have a way of killing your beast by casting something that saves it.
Okay, that wasn't something I would have considered, but I'll give it a try.
Like, the worst case scenario here is that they play something that stops you attacking, and then you don't attack into it. Whereas if you did it after declaring attacks, then it's like, okay, well, I've committed now, it's too late. You could have tried to do it to be like, I'm going to let you double block me and then kill one of your blockers, so I kill your Charm Stray. But like you said, they're probably chump blocking with the Charm Stray anyway.
Well, they can't.
Oh, of course they can't, yeah. So, yeah, the only thing that could have happened there is that they blocked with the Primate before you fired that off. And as the beast doesn't have trample, that would have just saved them for life.
I suppose so, yeah. I mean, given that we were able to strip away kind of what made the deck have any point at all, I think we got extraordinarily lucky to run into someone who's got just a pile of garbage.
It's a very weak list for this event.
I mean, that's the thing, I suppose. The advantage I do have is that my rank for basically everything is terrible. Like, I'm literally at the lowest you can be, I think, for nearly everything. So there's a good chance if there's any way for us to get hold of, like, okay. They haven't got any mana, so that's not really an issue. I mean, I could throw Innkeeper in the way of it, but it just seems wasteful.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to make any blocks other than this.
Well, I can't.
The Knight of Sorrows has Afterlife and can block 2 things? Yeah.
So, we are going to... Oh, well, actually, no, it doesn't matter anyway, does it? Because we're... let's see. So, the Afterlife will not be negated, sorry. So, that will block one of our Order of Midnights. Oh, the problem is, yeah, if we go and... Actually, yeah, so, let's see. So, if we... There is a possibility we don't wipe the board right now that they're just going to come back and do something weird to us. Yeah,
you're a low life total that... Like, there is a correct line, and tell me when you want me to tell you it, but that you need to wipe the board this turn against the possibility that they pump and kill you next turn. You also want to do the max damage you can before you wipe the board, or after wiping the board.
Well, I do 4 damage either way with the Questing Beast. I could play out the... No, I don't want to play out the second one. I don't know, what are you seeing here that I'm not?
Hit them with everything, and then wipe the board. You might lose the Questing Beast this way, but you end up killing everything, and then you can just kill them with the next Questing Beast because they'll be at 4 or less life next turn. So the problem with wiping beforehand is that they get the token from the Knight of Sorrows after that, so they can just chump block your Questing Beast, which would be the only creature in play, so you'd deal 0 damage if you did it pre-combat. Since the Innkeeper's going to die because you're wiping the board, you might as well swing in with them for that little bit of extra damage. This way, your Find Finality will kill your questing beast. It will kill everything on your board, but you have a 4-power haste creature for next turn, and they're on 4 life, so I think you've got a good chance of just killing them then. But I think at 6 life, with them having now 5 flying power, but 4 flying power across 2 bodies, any pump spell kills you next turn if you don't wipe their board.
Yeah.
And I would be shocked if they're not running pump spells. The good don't cast both of them because they're legendary. The good lifelink and life gain decks play pump tricks, and I would imagine that the sort of slightly misguided ones probably do as well.
Okay, so at least we got a gimme to get a chance to play with that deck. I noticed, yeah, we didn't end up with quite as much adventure-y kind of combos, but we got a pretty good run out of the cards. Like, they all replaced themselves, I think.
Yeah.
So, I'm alright with that. I don't think any of our other games are going to be as easy as that by a long way.
I hope they are.
I mean, I hope so. I hope we get up to 12 wins and it's like, why is anyone playing this deck? I don't understand. But, alright, so did we learn anything from that last one?
As you say, it's a bit tricky because you can't really learn about a deck in isolation. You need to learn about the deck versus something, and what we were playing against was sort of not very representative of what we're expecting to see. I think the main thing we learned, because we did it right, is that you do need to be willing to mulligan to make sure you have early action, and that trying to get hands where you have the bartender, I can't remember what his name is, but the 1-mana bartender that draws you a card every time you cast anything else, having that early is very important, and that it may be correct to mulligan iffy hands that don't have him and keep iffy hands that do.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And I mean, as well, we've got the oh god, it's gonna take a while to go through, sorry, I didn't. We've also got the Once Upon a Time that functionally does the same thing, and people will be able to dig for it. It's interesting we didn't actually see any Once Upon a Times there, but didn't ultimately matter. Yeah, I think the mulligan is probably the main thing I'm getting from that, is that, yeah, we went from a hand which was just like, oh, I don't even know what this hand is going to do, to a hand which was just like, man, this synergy's crazy.
Yeah, like that hand was a snap keep for draft, but for constructed, just was a bit too aimless, probably. So I think you have to be willing to mulligan fairly often here.
Oh, well, that's a great start. We've got a shock land.
Snap keep.
Yep, we can. I mean, the temptation, I suppose, is to try and bung out as many innkeepers as possible before playing the Order of Midnight.
Well, you can go turn 1 innkeeper, turn 2 innkeeper plus Foul Minite.
That's true.
That would probably be, without further information of what our opponent does, what my line would be.
Well, we've at least got our first turn pretty much sorted out.
So you're spending 3 cards to get 3 creatures in play and draw 2 cards.
Yes, with the promise of more cards afterwards.
Yeah.
So let's pay. Yeah, I like that. I like that line. So, doing Innkeeper into Foulmire.
Yep.
Yep.
Like there are other valid lines here for sure, and it might be once you've played more matchups, you're like, oh, they've got Watery Grave. I want to do something differently here. But as a baseline play, that's a very, very good value play.
Yes, I mean it's pretty absurd. And so yeah, we're drawing 2 cards every turn, or maybe even 3 cards. We get carried away.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's right to play Innkeeper plus Order next turn, or if it's better just to play Beast. My gut says it's better just to play the Beast, because that's more assertive, but it also protects you a little bit more. If you play the Innkeeper and the Order of Midnight and they wipe the board, like, you might have drawn enough stuff that it doesn't matter, but that could be the end of your game. Whereas if you still have an Innkeeper and an Order of Midnight in hand, you can get back another Innkeeper, you can put the one in hand in play, and then you can restock really effectively.
Alright, so this is some of our early research was to notice we probably needed more black land than we needed green land.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, this manages to accelerate matters, so they've just spent their turn getting us more land. So that's
which
nice.
Is great, because now we get to play the Innkeeper and the Beast.
Yes, so I can't see any reason not to do that. We don't have to play our shock land. So let's do all those things and gain tons of cards and probably make our opponent quit.
That's always a good sign.
I mean, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, like this is a deck that's very, very dependent on the Innkeeper. When it has it, it's just crazy. When it doesn't, that's what we need to sort of establish is how viable is it outside of that scenario. There goes your Rankle, I would guess. Maybe the Order. They want to stop you drawing extra cards.
I mean, yeah, I just get another Rankle otherwise, yeah. There you go. I mean, I'm still totally okay with this. They spent another turn in which they haven't really done anything. And... oh, there we go. We can probably find ourselves an adventure somewhere in our deck.
The problem with not taking...
Rankle? So it's between Rankle and Once Upon a Time looking for a 2-cost adventure, which is probably a bit ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, if you play Rankle, you put them to 6.
Yeah. It was always going to be that, wasn't it?
I think so. You may go the other way if you're like, I want to make sure I draw cards now in case I lose my drawing keepers, but I think just applying the pressure is sensible, because you know with Once Upon a Time you're going to be able to restock with another creature and continue beating down.
I mean, we've already got so much value out of it. Do we just...
Definitely discarding, because you can discard a land. What about... I kind of like making them lose the life. I don't know how redundant, how valuable it is for them to discard draw, though.
No, I'm not a big fan of that, just because I would feel so, like... because presumably they're desperate for answers at this point, and I think anything... because we're in such a good place anyway, we don't need another card.
I think that's okay. I'm not 100% sure on it. I know if they were at 5 life, we'd be doing it 100%, because then Rankle would be lethal on his own next turn. I'm not sure. I haven't played with them enough to know. I do know that discarding the Tomb hurts way less for them than whatever they're discarding. So hurts way less for you than whatever they're discarding.
Yes.
Which was a Planeswalker. It might even have been correct to hold the Passage as more discard fodder. However, cracking it to thin your deck of land is not a bad choice either.
Okay, so we've had a pretty amazing run for this. Our opponents... oh, there we go. There goes all our stuff. But not a Rankle. So you were totally right. Never mind.
Make sure that you sacrifice the Fabled Passage before your turn, so that you've got a slightly lower chance of drawing a land that you don't want.
Yes.
Because you definitely want to draw a creature if you can, though you've got Once Upon a Time to help with that.
Beep, beep. So now we've got enough. I think we probably still want more swamps, because we may never know what to do with 2 things. Alright. Well, there we go.
So then you just kill them.
Man.
Hour of Haste versus board wipes.
Jeez, I'm liking this deck quite a lot. I'm very glad we decided to change deck last second. Because I feel like we probably would be getting similar results, honestly, against anyone based... against both those decks we played with. None of them really did anything. Like, we... oh man, I played against someone who had a Meteor Golem in draft, who they had they had an enchantment to put stuff back into their hand every turn. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to lose.
That's one of my favourite things to do. If I can pick up a go with them early, I'll try and find ways to abuse looping it.
Okay, so did we learn anything from that game?
We learned that Ritual of Soot is not the correct 4-mana board wipe for the format. I think those of us who have been trying to play board wipes already know that.
Doesn't most stuff have 3 toughness or less? If there's something that does -3 or something.
Yeah, but it's targeted. It's 3 mana, which is amazing. -3/-3 to all creatures of a chosen type.
Okay.
And people aren't playing tribal enough that there's enough consistency to hit with that. The main one you really want to be playing at 4 mana is Kaya's Wrath, which is double white, double black, destroy all creatures, with a tiny bit of upside on top of that. I think mostly it was about Rankle, was trying to wrap our heads around that, trying to remember that the draw a card thing also deals 1 damage and might actually be relevant purely from that perspective, and that sometimes it's right to do math on whether it increases our clock by activating that one.
Okay, so look at this one. So we've got Once Upon a Time to dig for the Innkeeper, and then we've got a couple of cheap adventure-y creatures. Cheapish.
Yeah.
I think this is alright.
I think it's okay. I think this is sort of an average case hand for the deck, you're probably leading off with Once Upon a Time, then Heart's Desire, if you don't hit the Landlord from it.
I think I can live with this.
Uh-huh.
I think compared to what we would be getting from an average Magic hand, like, this is so much better. Like, the chance to dig for, like, you know, effectively scry for 5 just because.
Yeah, I mean, Once Upon a Time is just a ridiculously good card for best of one. Being able to keep so many more opening hands is really powerful. There he is. All right, turn 1 Innkeeper. Here we go.
All right.
And then next turn, I guess probably you're playing Fabled Passage and Valmire Knight. That's your 2 mana spent.
Yeah.
I guess you play the Knight before you play a land in case you draw a different land to play. Ooh. Oh, actually, you have a Swamp, right? So you can just play Innkeeper and then Valmire Knight. I thought this was going to be a really complicated decision and discussion about which one we cast this turn. It was not.
Okay, so they've got... There's no one mana counters below there.
Not for creatures.
Okay.
Not for non-blue creatures.
So ridiculous.
That's pretty great turn 2. I think any game where you have this start, this deck is going to do well. The question is how consistently does that happen, and how bad is it when you don't? Certainly we're 3 games in and we've had this start every time. But it looks like these guys are probably playing Simic Flash. So they are going to be fairly counterspell heavy. So you need to think about that a little bit with what you're playing when. I don't think that really changes what you're doing this turn, though. I think you're just playing Lovestruck Beast and hitting them with the Knight.
Yeah, I can't see any reason not to. Alright, we don't need to Overgrown Tomb at this point, so I'll just use the Forest.
Keep in mind now the Fabled Passage comes into play untapped. It only requires 3 other land in play first.
That's right. Nice. Alright. Bish bosh, get us some cards. So I guess we just chuck in the Valmire Knight and...
There might be an argument for trading off Innkeeper with the Cutthroat. The Cutthroat will get fairly big fairly fast.
That's true.
It's just a question of which axis do you want to contest on. Do you want to try and beat them purely on tempo? Do you want to try and beat them on card advantage?
I think we've already gotten a lot of cards out of these guys already. The fact we've got 1 still left over anyway. I think I'd be okay trying to get rid of this, since this guy's so crucial to the whole deck doing anything at all, that I'm quite happy to trade off, like, a card for him. I know it might be a few cards, but I'm alright with chucking everything in. If you think that's a remotely sensible thing to be done.
I mean, I think it's within the realms of possibility. I would say I'd need to play the matchup more to know for sure. My gut would be to throw in the Knight, but I'm probably 60-40 on it.
I think they're gonna want to get rid of the Innkeeper so badly. Oh.
Wow, that can't be right. Like, they're clearly thinking, I want to make this Cutthroat bigger to shut down these things from attacking me again. They're not going to make it big enough to block the Beast. They're not going to make it big enough to avoid the Death Touch on the Knight. Sure, they're going to stop you attacking with the Innkeepers again, but that wasn't the reason they should be blocking there. It's so that they could stop us attacking. Winged Words, very odd choice as well for this list. Yeah. I have no idea what they're doing. It might be they're actually a mono-blue tempo list rather than Simic Flash.
So we've got the possibility of going for Questing Beast here, or trying to dig up more cards. I mean, we've already got basically a full hand of cards anyway, so it feels a little redundant to be getting more of them.
Well, the only thing to keep in mind is that the big reasons to be mono-blue in this set are both very, very, very powerful draw cards. There's a blue X creature that draws X cards, and there's a blue, and then some secondary cost.
We are going to run out of time.
So you may want to focus on drawing cards a little bit more than you expected. So I would probably just hit them with the beasts, the Questing Beast, the Lovestruck Beast, and the Knight.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking. I was basically just listening out for you to say what I was going to be doing anyway. So, alright, I think we're just going to wang in with everything. You think you keep me back to the Innkeepers?
I think it's okay to throw them in, because they've shown they don't want to make the block.
I think now that they are... Well, now they're in... They're probably going to want to try and... No, what? Eh? Who? What? Okay. I'm really glad I was swinging with the Innkeepers earlier on, though. I don't know how much of a difference it sort of makes, but... Now that they're at kill distance of Questing Beast or of Okay.
They'd be at 8 otherwise, you know? It makes a big difference, those little extra pecks in. Dungeon Geist will give you the creature back if you kill it, but you won't get it for another turn, so you could trophy it next turn, you still won't have the beast to attack with.
Yes. Convert mana cost to 2 or less, so... Well, that's nice. That's nice. It will get rid of their brine borns.
You do have a kill this turn. Before you get into any further analysis, I'd point that out.
So I presume... So we could Legion's End that thing away, and then Assassin's Trophy the other thing, and then just win?
Yeah.
That's
it.
Then.
That's all there is to it. You just kill both their creatures and then hit them. I just didn't want us to get too far down a rabbit hole. And then be rushing out against time to try and make a play and not get the kill.
I think that's
see the hand. Why can't we see the hand and what's in it?
Windstorm Drakes, Mass Manipulation, Verity Circle. Okay.
That's the last thing.
What on earth? Air
yeah, this is just... Both of these people we've played against, and this is not a wrong thing to do. In round 1 and round 3, those have both been people that are just using this event as an opportunity to try brewing a deck for themselves. You know, they're just experimenting with deck building. They're saying, oh, hey, it's an opportunity to play anything I want. What can I build? And, you know, probably the reason they're doing that is that they're not super experienced deck builders, and so they're not nailing the meta decks.
All right, one step closer. We're 1/4 of the way to every card in existence being rained down.
3? Yeah, we're at 3. So currently we have 2 rare ICRs and a golden egg coming to us. The next win gets us another rare.
I really hope each of these games continues to be as easy as it has been so far.
My goodness, that would be great.
I feel like there's going to be an abrupt wake-up call coming in the near future where someone's like, how about you die?
Yeah, just draw absolute garbage and then come up against a highly tuned Golos or Fires list or Food list or something.
Well, I mean, someone with a Khan avatar is already on my naughty list.
It's the Fibblethip avatars you got to look for.
That's true. Those are the
There's real badasses.
All right, so we've had good draws or way to get good draws, pretty universally so far.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we'd had our first hand and for whatever reason couldn't mulligan, or we mulliganed into that hand, then I think we could have ended up in a much worse place where we just did nothing for a while and then died.
If we mulliganed into that hand,
yeah,
we'd have just had the same hand with one less thing in it, wouldn't we?
I don't know. Let's... Okay, I was more worried the game had crashed. So, all right. So we've got a great hand. Apart from we don't have any green land at all.
Yeah, that said, Foulmire Knight into Order of Midnight into Rankle is not the worst curve in the world. Given that that's the worst case scenario, it may be worth keeping this. I don't remember how many green sources we had. I remember that it was more black than green though. So you may want to chuck this back. Just depends. If you treat this as a 6-card hand that doesn't have Innkeeper in it, do you think this is better or worse than the average 6-card hand you're going to get with the London Mulligan?
I think not having the ability to draw to Innkeeper is going to drop our power level dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like mulliganing it. Is that like a crazy thing to do?
I don't think so. I think the average 6-card hand is likely to have both colours of mana in it, and that would be a big improvement. And it certainly does.
Okay, well, I mean, we can Lovestruck Beast in this. Or Heart's Desire, rather.
I think you need to throw back the Rankle or the Questing Beast. Which do you think is, on average, going to be better?
It's real hard to say. I feel like Questing Beast is probably more generally applicable. Whereas Rankle is it's very good a little bit more circumstantially. Like Questing Beast is going to solve more problems for us, i.e. Planeswalkers, than Rankle will.
There is the potential for card advantage from Rankle to catch you up a little bit on that, but I guess it's symmetrical, so it doesn't matter as much. I think I would keep the Beast.
Yeah. Goodbye, Rankle. I'm sure we'll see you again at some point.
But yeah, I don't know whether you even agree that one of those needs to go, but I think having a 1-drop, a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and a 4-drop, and 3 land is much better than having a 1-drop, a 3-drop, and a 4-drop. I think having 2 good creature threats and 1 good removal spell is better than having 3 good creature threats.
There we go. There's our 1-1. We're ahead on the board. Yeah.
1-1 human beatdown. Let's do this.
So I don't think I'm probably going to want to be playing Assassin's Trophy, so we could definitely scry next turn.
I think that's likely to be good. They are going into turn 3 though, so you might want to hold up Trophy just to blow up a Planeswalker. Now that you have 4 untapped land, it's like if you want a temple to find something, then definitely go for it. If you're just doing it for value, I might actually hold up the Assassin's Trophy because they might have a walk you want to kill.
They're red, white, and blue. So is that knights then?
No, it's going to be probably Jeskai Fires, which is a fairly Planeswalker heavy list. They might not have a Walker. They might have nothing to play next turn. You might decide that blowing up a Fires is more important to use your trophy for.
Alright, I mean I can live with it. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a major problem. Alright, well that's nice. The Fatal Passage is a bit early.
Yeah, I think if you hadn't drawn the other untapped land, it would have been a mistake because that would have messed up Casting Beast and Lovestruck Beast and Questing Beast on curve. But because you did, it was worth considering whether playing Temple was relevant. Like, given that you weren't sure what your opponent's going to be doing, that's a good reason to hold off on playing the Temple until you know what they're doing and therefore know what you want to draw.
So they can't get 3 mana this turn because of there only being 3 land total.
Yep.
So that's probably going to be a non-turner for them, I guess?
Probably.
Unless they've got a counter spell for anti-creature stuff.
Most of the decks that are sort of the higher level decks in this format are not running main deck counter spells because they just don't have room for them. They're more interested in executing their own plan and disrupting your plan, which is pretty common for a new format. Because we don't know exactly what's going to be good, it's hard to know what the good answers are. So it's difficult to be reactive at the start of the format. You'd rather just do your own plan better.
Okay, so yeah, Lovestruck Beast. I don't think we've got any other real options here. We've got the Swamp to be able to play it out. So I guess
unless you want to play around the counter spell, I think that's the correct line.
I mean, I'm okay if it goes onto this guy. I mean, it's not great, but it's something. No, we should have attacked before.
We should have attacked first. Because now they can just kill the human.
That's true.
If they have a removal spell. Aether Gust. I think you put that on top.
Yeah.
Better than drawing a random card from the list, right?
Well, at least we get another token out of the whole deal.
I think that's massively better than drawing a land. It might not be better than every spell you could possibly draw. It's better than drawing a land.
Oh, well that's our time to get pooped in the eye.
I think having played this hand out, it does feel like it's a little bit too slow. So our opponent's sort of done nothing, but there's still 18 life.
So do we go in... The question I guess I've got now is whether to go in with the... we could go for a full Lovestruck 1155 thing, or we could go in with the Questing Beast.
I don't think you do either. I think given that they've put nothing into play yet with the Fires, you just Assassin's Trophy that and play the 1/1 and the Temple. Because their deck is built around having Fires in play. So if they don't have a second one in hand, this really messes them up. You can't actually do that exact line because you do need a second green if you want to play the 1/1. So you have to make a choice between playing the 1/1 or playing the Temple. But I think either way, it's still just much stronger to blow up their Fires.
Well, I don't think I need the 1/1 immediately, do I? So I think I can. I think I could scry for one and see what else we can get here.
I think that's reasonable.
The 1/1's not going to do anything without the, or isn't so.
It's not bad to have it in play, but it's way better to be able to not draw something you don't want, like a Legion's End. I don't think it's going to be relevant here. I just don't see them playing any small creatures at all because they can't pay X costs with the Fires of Invention. So they'd only be playing creatures that are 4 mana or greater.
Oh, there we go.
This might hit them dig down and find another Fires. But at least now we know what this list is. Like, we played this list together for a little bit. This is Martin User's Jeskai Cavaliers Fires of Invention deck.
Okay. So at least we've avoided getting, like, until at least next turn. Okay, so... So Questing Beast could at least Death Touch this guy to death.
Mm-hmm.
Or... We can't get towards Final Finality quite yet, but I suppose, yeah, if we're doing that, we've got the... worst case scenario, we can just find back our Questing Beast, worst case scenario.
I think that's reasonable. You like hit him with the beast, make the 1/1 with the Love Struck Beast, because you need to sort of be applying pressure if you can. They might decide not to block this, but I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Alright.
Definitely get the 1/1 down, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because if they're not blocking with Cavalier of Gales, they must be planning to attack with it.
It's a bit unfortunate Finality is not going to deal well with the... oh jeez.
Cavalier of Dawn was not in the list that we were playing.
Right.
And this may be the reason they chose not to block, is that they had the Cavalier of Dawn in hand already. But I don't know if they cast 2 spells last turn. I guess maybe they would have perhaps drawn it off the Cavalier of Gales trigger.
Okay, so our Legion's End is not going to do anything. So we are a little short of being able to do Final Finality if we wanted to, and it wouldn't kill either of their creatures.
It would kill the Cavalier of Dawn if they've eaten your 3/3 first.
That's true. So we could put a Love Struck out. That certainly could get big enough to be able to threaten their creatures. I mean, I guess that's true for the Questing Beast as well. Actually, Questing Beast does also block for us, doesn't it? So that's a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's the right line, but
Yeah, I can live with that.
I think this is a losing game.
It does feel that way, yes.
I'm not sure how this deck beats that deck, if that makes sense.
Okay. Oh crap, that's what it was. That's what they were going for. That's why it's in the list.
I think I had it in my head that it made a 3/3 when it died.
That's not a good sign.
Assume there's another big crown pounder coming down. Oof.
That
I love this
effect is
animation.
amazing.
It's so good. So good.
Brilliant. I'm not even mad. Okay, well, that's a decent draw. So we could chuck out our Love Struck as a blocker. And then we've got a Murderous Rider for the following turn. We've got ability to get back our Questing Beasts, actually. We're 1 mana short of being able to get them back and cast them.
Yeah, so I think you just make the... Well, do you even make the Love Struck Beast? Because you can just kill their giant, right? So you could just play the Find, get back a Questing Beast, then use the Adventure to kill their giant, which they're casting next turn. They're making a 7/7 Vigilance.
Not sure I quite follow. If I
So
played
you
Love
could
Struck
spend-
Beast, I could then play Find to get back the Questing Beast as well.
Yeah, but you couldn't kill the giant on their turn. So they're going to cast a 7/7 Vigilance on their turn. You might want to hold
I
up
see.
your 3 mana instant to kill it.
I forgot it was an instant.
Because the
Yeah,
Love Struck
fair.
Beast isn't attacking anytime soon. And if you're going to blow up the creature that it would be blocking, it's kind of redundant at that point. Whereas being able to cast Questing Beast next turn, even if you don't draw a land, is quite relevant. They might
Okay.
play 2 creatures, you know? But
Hey,
I
there we
don't know if
go.
you're beating
That's
that hand.
the old Drawn from Dreams unlimited card technique.
It's pretty good.
But
They
then-
might find something more exciting than the giant to cast. Probably not.
Alright, yeah, we really feel as though we're fighting from behind very heavily here.
Mhm.
I think it's because we haven't had the our Innkeeper to be able to prop up our deck.
Maybe. I don't know how much the card advantage is going to help you here, though. You know? If they're casting 2 big expensive things every turn, like, the tempo is just so poor. You're only spending 5 mana per turn, they're spending up to 14 mana per turn.
I assume we do nail out Cavalier here. so we can get through our questing beast next turn.
I don't know. I mean, the questing beast can attack through it anyway.
We're going to end up with critical mass of creatures, which will just kill us in one turn if we don't kill it, though. Because he's flying and he's presumably going to get pumped up by the red cavalier.
Well, he's not played that yet, that's the thing.
But when he does, we just instantly die.
Okay, so that game doesn't matter, does it? Because you're losing that game no matter what you do.
Well, no.
So the game where he just plays the Cavalier of Gales and the...
No, I'm talking about he's got a Cavalier of Gales. If he plays the Cavalier of Flames and then pumps it, we die. Whereas if he hasn't got both of them and we kill this one now, we don't die.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like we're talking about different things.
You're not entirely wrong, but you're talking about hypothetical threat and avoiding the conversation about the two actual threats. So rather than talking about the 7/7 giant he absolutely will cast next turn, you're talking about the Cavalier that we don't know if is in his list. And so he will have things to kill you. He's going to kill you. The way you win is by killing him first. And it might be this line is not the one where that happens. I'm not sure where the 1/1 came from. Oh, was it a castle activation?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Well, I guess we've only got enough for one thing really here. I guess we could use Legion's End to get rid of it.
That's not entirely a bad idea. Legion's End is a sorcery, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, it's not. Yeah, I think it's probably right because otherwise we'll be into Cavalier territory by itself. I don't know. I've sort of lost the plot a bit.
I think you just hit them with the beast and they'll probably jump block, and then you don't have to make the decision.
They will not jump block. Do you know how I know? Because it's the Questing Beast.
Of course. Yeah. So I don't know how much that 1/1 matters.
I don't know either, but I'm not really anticipating Legion's End doing anything.
Well, the point is that he might make like 3 or 4 1/1s that you kill with it in one go.
Oh, time to die, apparently. Have they just revealed their hand to us?
I'm not sure why we've seen people's hands again. Is that a weird bug or something?
Well, I know they revealed the Realm Cloak Giant. Okay.
Maybe Fires works differently than I thought it does. Does it say something about revealing?
Oh, there we go. Time to die.
So this is the thing, is like, even with the line that you took, the Cavalier killed you. Cavalier of Flame.
Yeah.
So you had to try to win the game where he didn't draw that.
Fair enough. Alright, well, we're halfway done then.
So that's a horrific matchup. That's basically a can't win match for this deck, I would say. Like, I get that you're saying it wasn't the strongest draw for your deck, and there are going to be times where they don't draw things like Fires of Invention. But I think there's no way that you beat their late game, and I think they're getting to their late game too fast for this deck to run them over.
So I'm certain we're going to run into another instance of that deck, given that it is a popular deck. So the question then becomes, do we stick on this deck or switch to something else?
Ultimately, it is down to you. It is your destiny as to what record you finish up on. Maybe you want to switch to their deck.
Let's see. I think, for the purposes of... choosing the wrong things here. I think it's just for fun times. I would definitely go back and build this Golgari deck at some point, because that's pretty good. Let's try your food deck out, because it's good for a larf.
So we're going 3-2 then.
I mean, we'll be well fed, is the important thing.
That is true.
Alright, let's get our noms on by choosing what is probably a lot less competitive of a deck. Yes! I don't know, it's good for a laugh. It's actually my kind of deck as well. Like, I do enjoy just like, here's a combo, here's another combo. And by the end of the combo, has anything really happened? I drew a bunch of cards and then I died.
Well, that's the late game. And that's a secondary effect of the cards. The main plan is what you're looking at here, which is make a huge creature on turn 2 or 3.
Okay, this is alright.
Yeah, this is a keep. Not a great keep, but that's fine.
You'd
You'd rather have like a slightly bigger range of casting costs. And yeah, you would love to have a goose. This is definitely cabin. Like,
yeah.
By the time you've drawn enough land for it to make food, you may have had to.
The fact that it makes food doesn't matter as much, yeah.
Well, I think that's still going to be somewhat relevant. Okay, yeah, so this is where we get to see whether my argument previously that just making a 5/5 on turn 3 is going to shut them down. There is an argument that you don't do that and you try and make the 7/7, because by casting Woodland Champion here, they do have a window where it's a 2/2 where they could kill it.
I think if they're spending time killing it, I'm alright with that. Because we're getting up towards a... Well, the giant opportunity is gonna... I mean, yeah... I can live with it.
Because the other line would be slow as well.
I think the giant opportunity is going to be crazy here.
Yeah, if they don't kill the champion this turn or hold up mana, you play the giant opportunity, you get 3 food tokens, your woodland champion becomes a 5/5. They can never attack cleanly into it again.
That is...
And then you get
I'm not missing anything here, am I? That's just going to die.
Yeah, they're just throwing it away to deal damage.
Bold.
It is a little bit much.
Alright, so I can't see anything apart from chucking out a giant opportunity and just being like, lol.
I think so. There may be a haste creature coming back at you, but I think just hit them for 5.
Yeah.
So this is where my deck is a little different to the ramp deck that everyone's playing from Brad Nelson. He's not playing giant opportunities, he's not playing Woodland Champions, so he's missing out on those very, very large, very quick creatures. We've got a lot of ways of making the 2 food by turn 3 to make the 7/7, as well as making the 5/5. Instead, he has way more powerful top-end creatures. So that's why I think this list might be a little bit better for this best of 1 event as compared to the tournament best of 3 that he's playing in, because getting huge creatures fast is a good way of shutting down these aggressive red deck wins decks that tend to prey on people when there's no sideboarding.
So, okay, so we're now in a situation where we've got a bunch of 1/1s that will do 2 damage each.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is basically unblockable as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to be taking a bunch of damage. So, I mean, we could start cracking foods with Trail of Crumbs just to draw a bunch of cards.
I wouldn't bother with the Trail of Crumbs bit yet, because you'd have to pay 2 mana for a land, 2 life for a land to do that. I'd just play a pool past the turn. No, wait. I would play a pool and play a Trail of Crumbs this turn. I wouldn't crack any food this turn. I'll tell you why in a second, so I'm not confusing too much.
So we're not paying for
I
the pool?
wouldn't pay the life because you're just losing too much life.
Alright.
The reason I play Trail of Crumbs here is that it makes the champion a 6/6, which means that they can't combine 2 damage from a creature and a burn spell to kill it. So I think it becomes significantly harder for them to break through it by doing that. If you can get it to 7/7, they basically can't ever deal with it, even if they're they have to 3-for-1 themselves to deal with a 7/7. Which is why the giant opportunity is amazing when you have the 1-drop life maker.
I do like that we're going to get into a situation, hopefully, where we can just eat food and just pretend they don't exist.
Yeah, if you gain 9 life against red deck wins, it's like, what on earth are they ever going to do to get back at you at that point? I would kill the Dodger, I think, because that has the ability to become unblockable. Yeah,
that's weird.
They've not activated that. They've got 4 mana's worth of stuff they want to cast. This is the only answer I can come up with. It may not be that's why, but it might mean that they're going to throw 2 cards at the champion to finish it off, like a shock and a lightning strike. No, they're just trying to push through as much damage as possible. They knew you were going to eat something. I don't agree quite with that line, but whatever. I think you're definitely in territory of eating food, so I'd consider play the pool tapped, play the goose, eat a food, pay for Trail of Crumbs.
Okay. Well, this is your baby, so I'm more happy to let you.
And the next time you're playing Troll King, and then what are they doing?
Alright, sorry, so what was again? So we paid the pool tapped.
Eat the food and pay for it. So now you're gaining 3 life and drawing a card with selection. and then you're probably just casting the Goose afterwards. Ooh, does that get the enchantment? I can't quite read the full text on it. Can you click on it? Thank you. Artifacts only. Doesn't get the enchantment. It's still good though. Pumping out a food every turn might be just amazing against them. I think it's better than a second Goose. Because the worst case scenario is you play it, you plus it, and then they have to throw 6 damage at it. Or it takes over the game.
I do think that their deck is already probably lost at this point.
This is quite a typical kind of list you'll be seeing out of Red, by the way. This is not like a weird homebrew. A lot of people are going to be playing Cavalcade lists just like this one. Alright, whatever. You got a counter on the champion, it's now almost impossible for them to overkill it. You got another food token. That's all you needed out of it. It would have been lovely to be able to be guaranteed to cast Troll King next turn. But actually just casting Oko is going to be quite strong anyway. Cast Oko, crack a food.
Okay, so the Spitter's going to be the one to get rid of next. It won't replace itself, so it's like guaranteed damage.
Definitely. So yeah, I think you play in plus Oko, you sack a food for life. You may as well do that on your turn.
Start turning our food into 3/3s.
Yeah. I think it would be better to gain the life here. It might be better to make the 3/3. But the making Oko bigger, I think, is slightly more valuable. And I think 9 life, like they're going to get through for 3 damage from the Cavalcade if they don't play a haste creature. If they do, they're getting through for 4 from the Cavalcade, plus 3 in damage. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. So if they have a burn spell in hand and they draw a haste creature, you're dead next turn if you haven't gained life. I guess maybe not if you're blocking with the food, but I think the 3 life is better than the extra blocker right now. It's... Oh, yeah, no, I guess you can do both, right? Do both. Do both. Don't make another food. The champion's hard enough to kill already. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I don't know why I was thinking that you would need to spend that 2 mana to do it.
I think it feels like you should have to pay more than you actually do.
Probably does, yeah. You spent 3 mana to get a Walker and a 3/3.
I know, they're looking at the Oko now and they're like, WTF, mate?
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, if they send any, we were talking about like Oko needing more health. I'm like, if they're gonna send something after Oko at this point, then I'm like, all right, well, how about I just win?
I think, yeah, I think that's reasonable. I guess if they wanted to kill it, they could kill it even if it had 6. It's just going to soak slightly less damage if they do that. I think they're going to assume that they can't win by not killing it, and they can't win by ignoring it. And they've basically conceded. They've passed without attacking. That's the end of the game. You've just got to actually play it out from here.
Okay, so I could pick a wolf to strip away one of their creatures, and then I guess just continue to build up stuff until they concede.
I mean, there is a point where you need to start attacking. You may or may not be at that point yet. I would probably want to get another creature or 2 on board first, but maybe you attack with the champion and you just make another 3/3 with Oko and play the wolf and kill something first, obviously, as well. So then you end up with 3 3/3s to block with, and they have 3 creatures.
There's too many words, I got confused.
I think kill something with the wolf, hit them with the champion, make another 3/3 with Oko. That's a safe enough line. I might not kill the initiate, though.
Yeah, you're right. We want to strip out the potential. Because they've got the potential, yeah, of the extra life. So let's create another 3/3. We could also steal all of their creatures.
I would hit them first, ideally. Because you're giving up unnecessary information before they make block decisions. You could steal their creatures. That would not be a completely crazy thing to do. But I just don't see how they win against an Oko that sticks around. So minusing him seems a little bit unnecessarily win more. I think the other issue I had with turning them into 3/3s is that I forget that you can still sacrifice them. I think.
Yeah.
You can't sacrifice them to...
Actually.
Well, you can't sacrifice them to gain life, but I think you can still sacrifice them to things like Wicked Wolf.
Yes, they're still food.
What exactly do they say?
No, they're
Yeah.
token creature elk, but they are called food at the top. I don't know.
They don't have the food type, so I don't honestly know.
I'm a little worried that if I get into that one,
Like,
back.
Yeah, maybe we get to a point where we can't possibly lose, and then we can test it.
Science! End of combat. Okay, so I don't know why they haven't just conceded at this point.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing things out. This might even be their last sort of stab at things.
That's true. Okay, so at this point, I guess we can just keep repeating that turn until eventually we win.
Yeah, I think you're safe to hit with 2 things if you're going to make a creature this turn. You might decide that you don't want to. So I'd figure that out first.
Yeah, let's go for the double hit in. I think because we don't have to spend any mana necessarily.
Yeah.
And we've got the food spare to eat with the wolf in case something crazy happens.
But that's the question, is basically, are you casting Golden Egg and Giant Opportunity? You probably are. If you're playing Giant Opportunity, you're making food or a creature with it. You might not be doing those things. You might just be sacking the remaining food to gain some life and put this completely out of reach. That wouldn't be an unreasonable line to take. Because they only have 2 blockers and 2 attackers anyway. So you could sack that food, gain 3, draw a card, and then how are they coming back at that point?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting the extra land as well. Let's give that a try.
Well, yeah, that's the big value of paying for it, is being able to cast a Troll King on the next 2 turns. I don't really want either of those land, but you have to pick one or the other. I guess you take that one because you don't have any other black sources yet. Oh, you haven't played a land yet, so you could play it tapped.
Yeah, I like that. We could also Golden Egg here, can't we?
I think you Golden Egg first, because you like that's additional information before you make the land drop. But I would be surprised if you weren't then playing the 2. Garenbrig's not bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great with Troll Kings in hand, so...
Yeah. Gives you... Oh, we don't want to play it yet, though. We want to play the 2, because we want to get that into play without paying the mana. But it just means that the next turn you have potentially 7 mana to cast on creatures if you have things worth doing it with.
It's probably a little excessive to be chucking out these extra things, but whatever. I know that it does put a wolf in potential kill zone.
It does, but it means that you're sort of slightly less vulnerable to them finding some line with a hasty creature.
Okay.
Alright. Vraska, I think, kills their enchantment, doesn't it?
Yes.
I would say that's like... They've got to concede when you do that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to, but like... I think that's what they're working towards, and this is why we needed to gain some life, is they're working towards, can I get enough creatures in play that if I draw a second Cavalcade, I can just deal lethal in one swing? So I wonder if maybe it's correct, now that we've got the Troll Kings as well, it might be correct to play Giant Opportunity just to make 3 food, so we can start munching it, and just get such a high life total that just doesn't, even if they draw the next 3 Cavalcades, and make more creatures as well, they're just still not doing enough burn to kill us.
So we could... I mean, I just feel bad, honestly, in this game.
You shouldn't. You should be playing to every possible out they have, because that's what they're doing. You shouldn't let the fact that they're getting womped on make you stop doing everything you can to crush them, because they're desperately trying to find a gap to beat you through.
Okay, so for Oko, I'm not even sure what to do with it. Just make more 3/3s, I suppose.
I think so, because you're going to play a Troll King next turn, so you're going to have more food anyway.
So we can keep swinging, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd hit them with the wolf as well at this point.
Oh, we know it's doing that already.
Oh, well, I'd keep hitting them with the wolf at this point.
All right, then, I will.
All right. So what do you think about this list so far?
I'm impressed that it managed to deal as well as it has with this thing. I think with you sort of telling me how to pilot it, it's made a difference in terms of I wouldn't necessarily have gone for cracking the food as early because I don't think I've sort of got the experience playing against, well, with the deck or what the possibilities are there.
Yeah, I mean, I've played a lot of red in the time since Arena came along, so I've got a fairly good intuitive sense of the ebb and flow of what matters, and I think that's just something you have to get experience with to be able to do.
So we can trade in our food for a few cards. I think we're going to get our Troll King out though.
I would probably use the castle, because that leaves you 3 mana left for cracking a food and drawing off it, if I've done my math right. If I haven't, well, it doesn't really matter anyway. Because you just wouldn't have had the mana either way.
So we could swap our stuff for their stuff and then just kill them.
That seems reasonable. Just think about whether there's any burn or anything they could be playing to mess that up.
I really don't think so.
I haven't done the math. I don't know if you're 100% to kill them here.
Okay, I thought it was all the creatures. Never mind.
No. That's why I was like, well, maybe that's a line we can do. You probably should be Vraskering before you do anything this turn, including casting Troll King. You should probably be attacking before you cast the Troll King. Vrasker plus all of this food is just so nice. I would be cracking food rather than playing the goose. Even though you're not getting the draw from it, the life is just so good. I think we have literally gained 9 life against them at this point.
Okay, well, I'll just bang out another guy, I guess.
Yeah. Make a guy, hit him with as many guys as you can, which is probably enough to kill them anyway. You can hit them with the wolf.
Well, just whack with everything.
Well, you need to leave 4 things back, which, including the Troll King, is everything but the food. Yeah, you can put 1 more food in, I think. Like, you could survive them doing more than that, but you just don't want to take any damage against them if you don't have to. Because that's just helping open the window to there being an out for them. If you just avoid ever taking damage and keep gaining life and keep getting a more dominant board state, they can't kill you. And they have 4 creatures, and they could have a haste creature. Alright, well, that was a bit protracted. I don't disagree with our opponent's choice to keep playing there. They know their deck a little bit better than ours, probably, though they don't know ours. I don't know if they had literally 0% to win all that, or if it was like 0.0001 or something. Certainly, there was the potential for us to misplay, given that we are clearly playing something a bit weird and wonderful.
Alright, so what's the difference between 3 and 4?
The difference between 3 and 4, I believe, is, and yes, I can see, is 1 additional rare ICR. If you get to 5 wins, you get no additional prize. so the boundaries are 0 to 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, and 6 to 7.
Okay.
Those are all the same. And oddly, 9 and 10 are the same as one another.
Okay, so I don't feel too bad. Anyway. If we lose here, I should feel slightly less bad than if we'd lost in the potential next game. I don't really know why that makes that much sense, but whatever. Okay, so we've got Once Upon a Time. Yep, and we've got enough mana, almost sunny to play everything. Great.
I mean, Once Upon a Time is going to hit your goose or a land.
Yes.
That's all you need it to be here. The odds of it hitting neither are so slim. You want to do it after you've drawn for the turn.
That's right, yes. So it's... yeah, I think it's... There are... Alright, so we definitely know what kind of deck we're playing up against.
Food!
Yes.
For those of you that aren't following along as well as I am, this is the Knights deck. So Tournament Grounds taps for Mardu, red, white, or black, as long as you're casting a Knight or an equipment, and the Knights love equipment.
Okay, I guess it's got to be the second Wizard Champion, isn't it? We've got enough food now. Enough mana even. We just drew another land.
I feel like casting Wolf on turn 4 must be very strong though. Because they're a creature-based deck, so you're definitely going to kill something. The Woodland Champions do seem nice if you can keep the Oko alive. I guess it might be worth the risk of not drawing the extra land. It's your call ultimately.
I think
you're 100% to cast the Wolf on turn 4 if you take the land here, but you're not giving up too much by going the other direction.
No, I feel like they're going to nail out the first thing we play.
Well, this is why the Wolf is so exciting, is that it's a 2-for-1, so it catches you up and also gives you a powerful creature on board that they can't easily kill.
So I love tournament grounds. I like, as far as like, you know, sort of archetype support, it seems ridiculous.
Yeah, and pretty scary to have that with the Woodland Champion. They may very well throw down a very powerful equipment very fast that you can't deal with. So this is looking like you really want that turn 4 Wolf at this point, because you really want to deal with the Crusader. Although, I mean, it's a symmetrical effect. Crusader causes both players to draw a card and lose 1 life. But that's going to be better for them than it is for you, because it's their only way of drawing cards, essentially. I guess there's a 3-drop that will draw them a card once.
Ooh.
Wow, they're going super wide. Super wide.
Okay.
I mean, you definitely eat the champion here. They're just trying to push extra damage through the Crusader. Keep in mind the Crusader also has Menace. Oh, and this is why they're doing it, is because they wanted to trigger the Knight of Ebon Legion. It might be you have to Elk the Knight of Ebon Legion here. I'm not sure.
If we, oh, they're going to pay to make it bigger.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could Oko and food to make a Woodland Champion big enough to deny it, unless it... I suppose that's not great either, is it?
Well, they're getting through the Stormfist Champion and the Knight of the Ebon Legion. But I guess you do get to block a Venerable Knight. That does kind of make the other problems worse. I guess you're playing Wicked Wolf next turn, so actually playing Oko and plussing it for food might be reasonable. Gives you a reasonable block this turn, they then kill your Oko, but you then have a food ready to back up your Wicked Wolf next turn. So you get to kill whichever threat is the bigger threat, and keep your Wicked Wolf alive. Because Knight of Ebon Legion can't be bigger than a 3/4 next turn, unless they've got the mana up to pump it in response. And you drew a second Oko, so great. The best thing they could do for you is attack your Oko this turn. Doesn't look like they will. I think they're just going to run you over.
Well, at least we can Wicked Wolf away something. Interesting. Okay.
So they're tapping out to kill the Oko, I think. Embercleave on the Knight of Ebon Legion. Interesting choice. Did they maybe have lethal? No, they could have put us to 1. I'd have put us to 1.
Alright,
we need a board wipe.
We don't have one of those.
No.
Or are we just dead?
We can go to 5 to cast Wolf and kill the 2/2. Then we chump block the Knight of Ebon Legion. We can cast Oko and Elk the Knight of Ebon Legion. And then we have to play Goose as well, so we can chump block whatever has the Embercleave on it. So then we die that way because we have to pay the 2 life for it. I think the only line where we don't die this turn is by using Wicked Wolf to kill the Crusader. But I feel like we die on the following turn.
I'll take that gamble. I
guess we don't have to chump block, do we? We can just food chump block.
Yeah.
Because we can make it indestructible if they don't have removal. Alright, well, we're dead to shock.
I guess. Well, okay, so there we go. Don't feel too bad about it. I mean, they did have the hand of the deck of just throw your hand on the board, and then they had the thing they needed to finish off, so whatever.
It's a blisteringly fast deck. Definitely block the 8 damage creature.
Well, let's hope that they maybe they crash. Maybe the maths engine which drives Magic the Gathering Arena will get it wrong, and it will be like, you've now got 8 life.
That's the high level play. Cross your fingers and wait for a bug.
Oh, wait, did that trample?
Yes, I guess it does have trample, doesn't it?
Oh,
Embercleave is very good for a card that nobody's really playing. Alright, well, what do you think? How was your experience in the Win Every Card Challenge?
I'm really glad we had that game where we beat up the mono red deck. I feel like that was worth the whole experience by itself. like, I enjoy playing the food deck. I think that's something which I would consider building just because it's fun.
It's really interesting playing with a secondary resource like that.
Alright, what are we going to get? Well, we know one thing's.
These can upgrade to mythics as well. Ooh, very exciting.
That's actually quite playable.
Flash deck.
Yes. Oh, that's kind of lame.
It's actually quite good if you're trying to build white weenies. It's just that that's not very popular right now. That's not to say it won't become popular whilst Linden's in the format.
That could be good for a goofy deck, and I'm always a fan of goofy decks.
Well, I could see it maybe finding a home in Esper Stacks. This is a blue, black, white deck that's all about playing enchantments.
Okay, so I'm pleased to have at least got an unplayable card, and some cards which may eventually find a home somewhere. I think that was about where I was expecting to be, really. I had some vague aspirations of maybe doing one or two better than that, but like, I think that's realistically what should have been the outcome. And
Feels
it
pretty
could have easily been
respectable.
a lot worse.
Like 4-2 is that a 60% win record?
Probably sounds about right.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. Alright. How do I put on my... Oh, it's the card back is per deck, isn't it?
It's per deck.
Alright, well, I'll put it on... I don't know. What am I going to play? None of this stuff, probably. I was just testing things out.
What are you playing?
I don't know, all sorts of silly nonsense. I love my Simic Adapt deck. It's because it's very silly. I don't think it's a good deck, but it occasionally beats the hell out of people.
Is this a standard deck or a historic deck?
I believe it's standard. There you go. My first egg. I mean, it's just basically everything I could find that had something to do with 1/1 counters on it.
Okay.
I mean, it works alright. It's pretty straightforward. It's just... I think because Trollbred Guardian was very, very cheap costed. And then a bunch of messing around with Biomancer's Familiars and Titanic Brawls. I'm not like... I kind of like the deck just because it's a bit silly, and also because Sauroform Hybrid's kind of fun as well.
Yeah. Biomancer's Familiar is a card sort of desperate for a deck to break it with.
Well, the video I was watching before we just started was someone who was playing because it's considered to be an effect of the creature, like when you enchant it. I think, at least that's the way which their deck was working. Was that they had the thing which allowed the creature to untap, and so that discounted that effect and made it almost free. And then they were gaining more mana from tapping and then untapping itself.
Was this in one of the arena formats? I can't think of the enchantment that lets you untap. I've been sort of searching for one to try and find something broken to do with the new 2-drop in Throne of Eldraine. It's 1 blue for a 1/4 artifact creature. When it enters the battlefield, you untap. Corridor Monitor. Untap target creature.
Gauntlets of Light.
Okay.
So it gives the enchanted creature 2 and a white to untap, but because the Biomancer's Familiar reduces that to just 1 white, anything if you put the gauntlets onto something that creates more than 1 mana,
like a Gaia Engineer.
Yes. Then, well, ideally if it created white as well, then you've got infinite mana at that point.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and then they just played something which was like search your deck for X, and then give they played 1,000,000 creatures, and then gave everything I think haste and trample, and then won.
That's my kind of deck.
I mean, admittedly, I was like, they took 10 minutes to take a turn, so I guess that is on brand probably for both of us. Like, they hit a timer on the screen, they also fast-forwarded a lot of it. But, yeah, God. I mean, it's to me, as much as I do that, it definitely doesn't really feel like you're really actually playing Magic at that point. Also, the reason why I was annoyed by this is because I was playing in draft and someone had this, and I was like, well, I guess all of my frozen enchantments are completely useless now. Pleh.
Oh, so you were playing enchantments that tap stuff down?
Yep.
Like a Capture Sphere sort of thing?
Yes. Okay, well, didn't get 12 wins. I don't think that was ever really going to happen, but I did have a good time learning about some of the different decks, and I think it's given a very good primer in at least a couple of the more goofy things. I enjoyed playing the food deck, and the adventure stuff seemed like that was at least a taster of what like maybe more conventional decks are going to be like. When are we getting drafting Eladrain stuff?
I honestly haven't seen. I mean, it's now available for best of 3 traditional draft. I haven't seen a schedule for it. I'm sure it exists somewhere. I've just not seen it. You haven't got all of the modes on show. If you close that panel, arena play mode, all play modes. There you go. So you will see it now. Traditional draft during Beldrain. That's gem only. The gold or gem format ranked is usually 2 weeks after. So
okay.
I think we got it last Monday. So I would expect not tomorrow, but the Monday after that is when I would guess that it's coming. But I haven't seen anything to confirm for sure on that one yet.
I think I'll probably enjoy drafting that. It seems like a quite good time. I've already burned for a bunch of money playing M20, and I was like, well, this is kind of boring. So I usually tend to find that I enjoy a lot more ones where you can pull together silly synergies and whatnot, just because that's my jam.
At the moment, at least, a lot of people are playing mill because the bots aren't drafting it appropriately. So you can end up with just like, you know, the every single mill card that gets opened at the table, you can end up with. And that leads to it being a viable list. I don't know how viable it is in the general sort of meta for the format, but certainly right now.
Someone did make a good point that for the win every card thing, there's nothing stopping you from just making a new account.
That's true.
Like taking a couple of cracks at it, because if you do well, then I guess the idea is if you win, then you've got more cards than you could have possibly gotten from your account previously anyway.
I mean, it depends on your collection, doesn't it? I know that I would certainly not trade my account for one that just has one of every card in standard. But if you're sort of, you know, if you've been playing a shorter period of time, or you just play a little bit less often than I do, you might decide that that's worth the trade. Certainly, if you're into brawl,
for funds.
You know, if you're like, oh, I've started playing Arena because I want to play Brawl and I know it's coming soon, like that's a brilliant strategy because you get a complete playset of the format.
Yeah, I think I might give it a try just because, you know, I won't get another chance to do this. And admittedly, yeah, unless you get up to those 12 wins, you're not really doing that. But it's kind of fun. I really like it as an event. I hope they do it for future sets. I don't feel like they're probably going to, but
it certainly had a lot of conversation. So, I mean, the whole point is to get people excited about playing the new format. I guess what matters is going to be looking at the numbers on their end to see how that translates to people actually investing in decks afterwards, whether generally people have a huge wild card conversion or not. So I think that's what it's about, is that people have been saving their wild cards for the new format, and people tend not to invest into a new deck in the first few weeks because they're waiting to see the results for some competitive play. So having a big prize on the line, having a couple of weekends of fairly high competitive play on Arena is hopefully going to give people the confidence to invest in decks a little bit faster.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it. I mean, yes, this stream could have potentially been a lot longer, but it probably wasn't ever going to be. But yeah, well, Piers, if the good people watching would like to find yourself, where should they be looking on the intertubes?
I'm live every Monday and Thursday, 7 till 9 local time on twitch.tv/Piers8. Monday is constructed, Thursdays are draft.
Excellent, and local time it being in the UK.
That's correct. Currently we're BST, which is UTC +1, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
It varies through the year.
So thank you so much for watching, and I'm kind of glad at least it didn't completely get destroyed. I think we got very lucky with the opening 3 matches to run into people who were not really going all out on the event.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what to think of that, really. Like, it was a thing. I don't know. But I guess that'll be it for now. Piers, thank you for being along and also for lending your food deck, which was pretty fun to play, and I think it's a shame that it got quite as eviscerated as it did at the hands of the other deck, but I guess that was always probably could have happened to a lot of different decks.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I mean the really critical thing is like how it holds up against the red aggro decks. I think it does that much better than the sort of slower, higher casting cost ramp versions of the food list, and they just make a lot less food. Like the food decks that are mostly going around often don't have enough food to sacrifice to effects like the Wolves' Indestructibility. They definitely don't have enough to just randomly eat 3 or 4 pieces of it and gain ridiculous amounts of life out of it.
Alright, I think that'll be it for us today. So yeah, if you're into Magic Gathering, definitely do watch Piers' stuff on Mondays and Thursdays. That's twitch.tv/Piers8. That'll be it for now. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Good night, everyone.